YouTube, hi, my name is Mark. This is Nixon Motorsports, and this channel is all about motorsports, from racing to exotic cars and even simulators. Today's video is a track analysis video at Eagles Canyon Raceway. The interesting thing is this is in a clockwise orientation, something that we don't drive that often. So let's get with it, all right? Come on. So we're here at Eagles Canyon Raceway, and before I get into the track analysis itself, let me talk a little bit about Eagles Canyon. So this track was built back in 2006, thereabouts, and it was a 2.55 mile track. I believe it was 11 turns, I believe. And I was a member actually in those early days, so I had a lot of track time, experienced it for myself, which was neat. The track was then later sold to the new owners in, I believe it was 2018, I think it is. And a little windy here, sorry about that. And the new owners have completely renovated this place. So if you've been to Eagles Canyon before and haven't been in quite a few years, it's a pleasure to see this facility track evolve the way it's doing. So the new owners came in immediately. They ripped up the entire surface down to the earth, bare earth, and the track is a brand new track, a little longer. It's 2.7 miles now, and it's 15 turns. So I'll tell you this, of tracks I've ran on around the country, this is probably the smoothest racetrack I've ever been on. So a little more on the track. This has a fair amount of elevation, roughly 200 feet of elevation, which is a lot. The back straight is 2,200 feet long, so it's quite long in the backside. And again, as I've said, this track is actually evolving to be a very, very nice circuit. So to the rest of this video, so we'll break away here in a second. What I'll do is show you a quick single lap on the track, so you'll see through my eyes at full speed to get an idea what the track's like. And then I will move into more detailed discussion, different segments around the track where we'll stop. I'll talk about some of the details and nuances and such at that point, okay? So let's get on with it.
So as I'm waiting to roll out on the track, I just wanted to tell you, driving the full circuit at Eagles Canyon clockwise is a blast. This was the first time for me, and actually many people. It's a rare thing that we do clockwise. So if you get a chance, I would suggest you try to do it at some point. As I noted, my lap time was about a second and a half slower than my counterclockwise. I think with more laps, though, roughly the same lap time should be doable.
Okay, clear. Jeff?
right, let's get started. First of all, this video of the track is recorded at 4K 30 frames per second. And make a note of it, the ride height for the camera is 40 inches above the ground, just from a reference point of view for yourselves. As we move through turn 1A, 1B, it's a double apex here. I'll have more detail on this particular turn when I come back around, but it is a double apex through 1A, 1B. The exit of 1B here is important. You do have a small straight in front of you, and you're going to want to accelerate hard out of 1B. I do find actually clockwise through 1A, 1B to be preferable myself. Grip levels seem quite strong. As you track out here on exit of 1B, you can look to the candy cane to your left. You have a nice flat extension with a candy cane there. You can use all of that, of course. Keep your tires on the track. Again, grass is not a healthy thing for any tire off track here. But here you're hard on throttle, you're accelerating, you're hitting your gears, you're looking down track, and slowly move your way over to the right. You do have a blind entry left-hander coming up, and this is a blind entry downhill left-hander coming up, and this will be turn 2 here in a few moments. Now the braking markers, as you notice during this recording, are on the wrong side of the track. They are set up for the counterclockwise configuration, so make note of that when running a normal clockwise orientation here. Those braking markers will be moved on the other side of the track. As we approach turn 2 here, and the reason I made a note of that on the braking markers, you need braking markers here on turn 2. As you see, as we slowly approach it, the track just simply falls away. And visual references for braking, a little difficult without physical markers. So I will say this, you're going to want to brake early on entry of 2 and slowly move your braking points in. If you overshoot speed on entry of turn 2, it's going downhill, as I noted, it's turning, and it's off camber on top of that as well. You would have a hard time keeping the car on the track. So make sure you establish an early braking reference, and slowly move that direction if you're braking too early or your speed input changes, okay? So as you can see here, rolling down the hill, this is a pretty continuous radius down the hill. The car will want to track out, and carrying speed through here I found to be somewhat interesting. You're going to want to keep it tight on the inside. That's my preference, even in the counterclockwise direction. I find grip just much better on the inner side of this turn, so I personally hug the candy cane relatively tight. Roughly about at this point, your car will start to unwind a bit because of speed. It will track out. You're going to want to let it do that, of course, and let your steering unwind nice and smooth. The track out, there is a candy cane coming up here to the right, so you do have the ability to let the car track all the way to the right side of the track here, and with speed you will find yourself over there easily. Be careful of that again. It seems grip-wise to be quite fine, but immediately you're going to be coming over here to your left, right? So looking towards your left immediately is where you're going to want to move the car. Coming up here at turn 3, this is a double apex turn. So on entry of 3A here, you're going to want the car to your left. And as you look forward, you can see your apex coming up, and this candy cane is nice and flat, so you can use all of that on the right side of the track easily. And as you're looking forward past the apex of 3A, you're carrying more speed. You probably hit another gear, I would imagine. You're accelerating. Let the car track all the way to your left. And as you look at the candy cane and the extra track addition to your left side here, you do have a fair amount of track that you can use. Again, be cautious of that. You know, the painted track surface, I call it the candy cane, grip-wise can catch you out a bit, but let the car track all the way to your left. Now, you are going up a hill. You'll need to downshift more than likely and touch your brakes a bit to get the car settling through 3B. This one I find somewhat interesting. So on 3B, in the clockwise orientation, if you look to your right here, the candy cane, it's a little more abrupt, the curbing. Tire on the inside of this particular candy cane will actually unsettle your car just a touch. I found my rear tires wanting to break loose and lose traction on throttle input from the exit of 3B. So be sensitive of that and feel that through throttle input as you exit on 3B. Here on your left, the curbing, the candy cane is quite flat, so you can track out quite easily there with no problem at all. Now as we approach turn 4 coming up here, so this is an interesting one as well. So visually I found myself, and by the way, you let your car track to the right here like I'm showing you. If you look to your right here immediately, see that candy cane on the right and this other track extension? I pause here to only show you that. Visually, it bothered me as I was driving through the track as far as how far you go to the right and so on. So for whatever reason, that was a visual thing I had to get through turn 4 here. But you're going to want to let your car drift to the right, set up the turn 4. And this turn, you're going up a hill on turn 4, and it crests at the top of turn 4, and then immediately you have turn 5, which then's going down a hill. So this one is, I would just say something of interest. You're going to have to watch your throttle inputs through here, nice and smooth on your steering, your pedal inputs. Let the car find its groove and grip through 4 on apex and the exit. And knowing that right here, the track will transition and go downhill. And now you have turn 5 coming up immediately. That is a right-hander, and this does lead onto a very, very long straight. You're going to want to have a very good exit here out of 5. So make sure you're able to get the car rotated as early as you can. Use all the track, of course. The curbing on the right, as you can see, that is nice and flat, so it does allow you to roll onto that curbing with no issues. At this point, you should be hard on throttle. Let the car unwind. It will track out to your left. And you're hard on throttle. Again, this is a 2,200-foot straightaway. Now, the difference from clockwise to counterclockwise, at this point, you can see slightly going down a hill. You're able to carry very good speed through this section of the track, and you're going to want to let the car accelerate hard. You're going to want to keep it to the left because at the bottom of this hill, at the bottom of the straightaway, you have a right-hander coming up, which is turn 6. And turn 6 actually is, as we approach it, an interesting corner. It's not a, I would say, difficult corner. It's a higher speed right-hander than you might think initially as you approach it. So the important thing is, of course, get the car down the track, look for appropriate braking markers on your left when we get up here. Again, there's nothing on the track at the moment, but work on your brake entry point on 6 and slowly back into that. I found, surprisingly actually, in 6, because as soon as you turn in on 6 downhill here, the track transitions and it starts to go uphill. and turn-in seemed to be quite strong, and grip was actually very strong through this corner. So I found it pleasant. I was pleasantly surprised with this corner. So again, as we approach 6 here on entry, look on your left again, nice and flat on the curbing, the candy cane. You have that extra little track runoff piece there that gives you a lot of good track. I personally did not bother going way off the curbing on the candy cane. I didn't feel I needed to. At this point, I was down 1 or down 2, slight touch on the brakes, keeping the car nice and smooth and turn in. And using throttle through steer through 6 here, you can continue to find the proper grip, the right line, and continue to accelerate actually up through 6. So this was a pleasant surprise. I enjoyed this. Now, after 6, so at this point, you want to continue accelerating. And if you look up the hill, you can see, well, maybe you can't here, but turn 7 coming up the hill is blind, but it's a left-hander coming up. And it's a relatively short shoot from 7 to 8. So I would find and recommend that you actually use as much speed and track as you can here as you approach 7, knowing you have a left-hander coming up. So you're going to want to get the car through the left-hander. But I actually used more of turn 6 and let the car track out instead of trying to worry about getting it all the way back to the right side before turn on turn 7. You'll have to play with that. But as we pass through turn 7, the car will track out. You're carrying some speed through here. And this is a turn 8 coming up, which is a relatively slow turn. You let the car or position the car to your left, setting up for the turn, which is a right-hander on 8. And this one is it's a fair amount of grip. It's a relatively slow speed corner. It's I don't know, it's around 60, maybe 70 miles an hour in that range. And as we focus on the apex here, it's important you can use all of this, and it's nice because it is flat and very usable. So you can use a lot of the track here on your right hand or apex through 8. Here you're hard on power. You have a long straightaway, somewhat of a carousel coming up. Hard on power, hit your gears, let the car unwind naturally through here. And as you're looking up, vision up, you'll see a slight right-hander coming up, and I'm going to call this turn 9. It's a continuous radius to the right. Lots of grip through here. You're accelerating pretty hard. You're hitting whatever gears you need to be in, and the car, at least in the downforce cars, you're full throttle. You've been full throttle. With downforce, you're able to carry a lot of speed through this particular corner, and you continue to carry speed as you approach the next section of the track here. So as we approach turn 10 ahead, it is a left-hander. This is very high speed. It's probably the fastest corner in the track itself. You'll want to get the car to your right to a touch before you enter. It depends on your downforce, grip level, and feel through this. The track's relatively wide, but hit your apex here on 10 as you move through 10, and you won't have any issues through this particular corner. So as you would expect, you're carrying a lot of speed here. The car will track out to the right. Let it do so, nice and smooth on your pedals, your steering input. Just let it track to the right naturally. Again, full throttle, carrying a lot of speed. We're going to be approaching turn 11 here in a minute, and this is a very interesting turn, so I'm going to start talking about it now. But coming up is a blind entry downhill turn, and braking points on this one, turn 11, is extremely important. You're carrying a lot of speed here as you've just passed through that long sweeping turn 10. So you're carrying a lot of speed. You don't see the track at all. So there will be braking reference markers on your right. Pretty important. You're going to want to brake early. Brake early. Slowly bring your speed up. I would say it's very important to get through this particular turn, and slowly bring up your entry speed into this turn. I would say is extremely important for you to be successfully navigating here, and now you can just slowly see the track as it evolves in front of you. Again, downhill, you might have to trail brake a touch more, depends on where you're at on entry speed. Bring your car to your left on the apex. It will set here nicely. I found grip to be quite good. The trick, again, I believe, is just to make sure you control your braking entry point to be successful through this particular corner. So let the car set through here, use the apex well, and you can see the candy cane here is elevated a touch. I didn't find it to be a problem, but you know, keep that in mind. The car will aggressively actually move to the right here as it wants to track out. Let it do so. Let the car stay very calm and neutral as you approach the hill. Yeah, so that's turn 11. I think you'll find that one to be an interesting corner. Anyway, looking forward, vision up. That's at past 11. We have now turn 12 coming up to the left where that car is. another guy was on the track. Anyway, this is a left-hander. You're gonna want to position your car all the way to the right, of course, prepping for the left-hander here, and 12. And this one, you're going to be on power. You're able to use all the corner here. In fact, rolling on the candy cane on your left front at apex is not a problem. There is a small transition as you're going up a hill here for a moment, and then it will crest and flatten out for a touch before you approach 13 coming up. Let the car continue to track out naturally. Don't fight it here. You have enough track distance to bring the car over to the left comfortably for 13 setup. So whatever balance you find there as far as tracking that out, just let it flow naturally. Now get your car when you can here in 13. You have a double apex coming up, and in 13 here, you're going to want to position for this one. You're carrying a fair amount of speed here, actually, and you know, you might need to down a gear, touch your brakes, you know, scrub some speed off before you enter 13A. Depends on your car's speed and momentum, and possibly some trail braking through here you might need. I found grip to be pretty decent through here. It is an off-camber corner a touch, but you're slightly going up a hill here, and it seemed to set well, and nice flow through 13A and B. So it's an important corner, of course. You know, make sure you're set up for as much of a continuous radius as you can through 13A and B. And for me, that's when I found kind of the sweet spot in this particular corner, just like the counterclockwise orientation. So in 13B here, looking to your right at the candy cane, the curbing, it's got a touch of elevation on it. The curbing, very, very minor. You can use all of that with no problem. You're hard on power at this point. The car will track out. You're going to want to let it do that, of course. And you have a small chute here before you enter turn 14. And so you can be accelerating. You were going up a hill just a touch. You will transition and go down a hill slightly here on 14. Not a big deal. Watch your track limits. Keep your tires, your car on the surface. And I've said this before in other videos, you know, the runoff for this track, there's very little gravel. Usually it's track, asphalt, or grass. And so, you know, keep that in mind for track limits and so on. But here we're approaching turn 14 at the bottom of this slight slope of, you know, downgrade of a hill. And this particular corner is not too difficult to navigate. Just approach it, use all your track all the way to your left as you're prepping for vision, looking to 14, the turn, the entry, and then the apex. And just keep in mind through 14 and then you have 15 following, there's a very short transition from 14 to 15, and there's a straightaway after 15. So this particular corner, carry as much speed as you can through it here, but you're going to want to try to get your car, hug it, I would say more towards the right at the exit of 14 here instead of letting it drift out. You might be more mid-track, but you can see almost immediately you have turn 15 coming up. And again, there's a straightaway after 15 here. So it's important that you're on power as quick as you can, like any turn that is an entry onto a straightaway. The good thing is on 15, the curbing here on your left, you can see that nice and flat, relatively flat actually, but you're able to use a good portion of that. You're hard on power. Again, a straightaway. Looking to your right as the car will track out, you have some nice little curbing, you know, the candy cane on the right. You are able to roll onto that if needed. And now you have a small straightaway ahead of you. And of course, being that it's a straightaway, you're hitting your gears, you're hard on throttle and so on. If you look roughly midway down the track, that is on the left side, there's that little tower. That is the start finish line of this racetrack. And so as we approach that, just make a mental note that that is start finish line. Now at the end of 15, and I'll talk about turn 1 coming up here. At the end of 15, you do have a double apex turn 1. So there's no rush in bringing the car over to the left. You have a little bit of room on the straightaway here and time to do that. But you know, do bring your car over to the left by the time you get down roughly this section of the track at least, and you want to hold it nice and tight to the left, and be prepared for the double apex that is coming up. And I actually like the right-hand version of this 1A, 1B, which when it's counterclockwise, that's 15A and 15B, right? Just probably personal preference, but I actually enjoyed it in this direction. You're carrying a lot of speed here, so you're going to need to keep the car straight, brake, shift, downshift, whatever you need to, in prep for entry speed on turn 1A here. And again, remember, it's a double apex. So unlike the previous double apexes where you can keep a continuous radius, that's kind of a hit and miss on this particular turn. Try it, I would say. Some higher horsepower cars, you might be better off to be a little more knife edge through here, where you get the car to rotate as quick as you can through 1A and set up for 1B. So the earlier you're set up and the car rotates on 1B, of course, you're able to get on throttle, on power quicker, and have more straight line speed down this small chute after 1A, 1B. Make sense? So that is the track itself. I think I'll wrap up at this point, and thanks for your time.
Well, that's it for this video. I hope you found the track analysis running at Eagles Canyon clockwise orientation to be of value. It's not very common that we run clockwise here, and you know, so my purpose of doing this video was to share for many of you who will be the first time running clockwise at some point what you might experience. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Appreciate your comments. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. And that's it for today. Thanks. Ciao.